Good morning students, welcome to the online class for Standard 8. Today we will read the remaining portion of the chapter The Fun They Had. So who is the writer of this story? Yes, it is Isaac Asimov. So let's begin. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because his history sector had completely blanked out. So, what happened to the Margie's teacher, the mechanical teacher of Margie? So, it was ready within an hour and the county inspector repaired it. And Margie was very sad because she hated it, isn't it? She thought that she would enjoy holiday. She won't have to study because Tommy's teacher was taken for a month. And what happened to Tommy's teacher? So the complete sector of history was blanked out. So it had to be taken for a month to repair. But Margie's teacher, it was already within an hour. So Margie became very sad. She was disappointed. So she said to Tommy, "Why would anyone write about school?" So her experience about school was not at all encouraging. She didn't like the school. She didn't like the mechanical teacher. She hated it most to submit the homework and the test paper, the slot. And she never had a good experience with the mechanical teacher. So she was scornful and she asked Tommy that why anyone would write about school. There is nothing interesting about it. Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So Tommy looked at Margie and said that, look, it's not our kind of school. So what kind of school they had? So till now we know that they have a mechanical teacher, not a human being. A robot used to teach them. And what about the books? They don't have the real books like we are reading now. So they have telebooks. So their school is quite different from the schools of ours. That means the story has taken place 100 years ahead. That means the future. And the school or the kind of school he is talking about in the book is the old one. That means perhaps our kind of school, isn't it? So she said that why anyone would write about school. Tommy replied that it's not the kind of school they are going. Rather, it is the old kind of school which were there hundreds years ago. He added loftily, pronouncing the words carefully, centuries ago. So he gave stress to the word centuries ago. Means the schools were of the old one. That means centuries ago, the kind of schools there were. So he is talking about that only. Margie was hurt. Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago. She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, anyway, they had a teacher. So Margie was hurt when Tommy looked at her with superior eyes and he called her stupid. And Margie said then, so what kind of school they had? She doesn't care about that. But she said that anyway they had a teacher. That mechanical teacher she had in her mind, the image of the mechanical teacher, which was round, big and ugly black. So she said, yes, sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. So what do you mean by this regular? The word regular has been italicized there. So regular teacher means the mechanical teacher. So what kind of teacher they had in the old kind of school? They had a man as a teacher. A man? how could a man be a teacher? Who said? Margie. Margie said that how could a man be a teacher? She was 11 years old. She was not that much mature enough. She was doubtful that how can a man be a teacher? Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. So when Tommy said this, Margie said, a man isn't smart enough to do all these things. So what the teacher or the man as a teacher in the old kind of school doing? So he was telling the boys and girls, the students, things and gave them homework and asked them questions. And Margie was doubtful, how can a man be as smart as the mechanical teacher? So a man is not smart enough. Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher, Tommy said. He can't. A man can't know as much as a teacher. Margie said, he knows about almost as much, I bet. So they had an argument that man can be smart enough or he is smart enough to teach. And Margie was of the opinion that the teacher or the man in the old kind of school, he is not smart enough to teach. But Margie said all these things. But Tommy said that the man can do it because his father knows as much as his teacher. That man is smart, he can teach, he can have questions, he can clear the doubts. So they had an argument about the teacher because they had a mechanical teacher and the old kind of school had human as a teacher. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. She said, I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me. So now we came to know that the teacher, that the school in the future would be there in the house only. They don't have any special building or the school that you are going now. So Margie didn't want to argue more. So she said that she would never allow any stranger to come to the house to teach her. Tommy screamed with laughter. So he laughed loudly at her. And you don't know much, Margie. The teachers didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there. So the book the book was about school. Tommy laughed at Margie and said that you don't know anything, you don't know much. And the teachers, they didn't go to the houses of the people or the students. Rather, there was a special building which is called school and all the kids, they went there. So it was quite different from the school of the future. In the future, they had to study at home. The school was at their house only and the mechanical teacher was teaching them. They had telebooks, whereas the old kind of school had human as a teacher. They had books which were printed on paper, and third, there was a special building and the kids or the children, they went there. So you can differentiate between the old kind of school and the school of the future, or where the Margie and this Tommy read. And all the kids learned the same thing. So Margie asked that all the kids learned the same thing. Sure, if they were the same age. Who said? Tommy. Tommy said if they belong to the same age, they studied the same thing. For example, you all are in class 8. That means that you are learning the same thing. All the children belonging to class 8, they are learning or they are being taught the same thing because you all are of a same age group. So that's why you are taught the same thing, because according to your mental level, so the things are being taught. But my mother says a teacher had to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. So Margie said, the mother says, so what is the name of Margie's mother? Can anybody recall? Yes, it is Mrs. John's. So she said that a teacher had to be adjusted. So which kind of teacher she is talking about? She is talking about a mechanical teacher, not a human teacher. You can't adjust the human teacher, isn't it? So here she is talking about the teacher who is a mechanical one, a robotic teacher. So it had to be adjusted according to the mind or according to the mental age of the children, each boy and girl, and each kid had to be taught differently. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. So Tommy said, yes, whatever you are telling, so it is right. So, but it was not done like this in the old days. So the same thing has been done, but in a different way. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. Tommy got irritated by regular questions or doubtful questions of Margie. So he said, if you don't like the book, if you don't like it, then you don't have to read the book. But the book had created curiosity in the mind of Margie. I didn't say I didn't like it, Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. So Margie was very interested because she had a different concept of school in her mind, and the book had a different concept of school where the teacher was human being, where many children studied in the same class. So it was not a regular kind of school for him. So for her, so she didn't want to uh, you can say she didn't want to leave the company of Tommy in reading the book, and she said quickly that she didn't say she didn't like it. She liked the book and she wanted to read about those funny books. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called, Margie, school. Margie looked up. Not yet, Mama. Now, Mrs. Jones said to her, and it's probably time for Tommy too. So they had you can say time or fixed time to go to school, and it was time for them. Margie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more with you after school? Maybe, he said nonchalantly. Nonchalant means very calmly. He walked away whistling the dusty old book tucked beneath his arms. So both of them departed, and they went to the school. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom. So you can find out the school of Margie was next to her bedroom. And the old kind of school, where was it? Near the home, inside the house? No, it was there in a special building, and the children went there. And the mechanical teacher was on. It was a machine, so it has to be switched on and waiting for her. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday, because her mother said little girls learn better if they learned at regular hours. So Tommy and Margie, with heavy heart, they departed because they wanted to read and they wanted to know more about the old kind of school. But Mrs. Jones, so who is she? She is Margie's mother. So she told them to go to school. It was time for them to be ready for study. And Margie went to her classroom, went to her school, which was next to her bedroom. And it was when she enjoyed holiday, the school was off on 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. And what the mother said, that the little girls learn better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up. You can see the picture of Margie. Do you find her happy? No. She was thinking something else. She was thinking about, can you imagine, of her old kind of school. The screen was lit up and it said, today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. So this is the thing which she hated most, isn't it? The slot where she had to put homework. And what happened? Margie went to her classroom, schoolroom. The mechanical teacher, the robotic teacher was ready, and the lights were on, and it was switched on. And what was the lesson for that day? Arithmetic. And what they were doing? They were doing addition of proper fraction. Marky did so with a sigh. Sigh means deep breath. So Marky did so. What she did? She put the homework of yesterday. Yesterday's homework was put on the proper slot. She did it with a sigh. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. Means very old age, no? All the kids from the whole neighborhood came laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same thing, so they could help one another in the homework and talk about it. So, this was about the old kind of school. So, what she was thinking? She was thinking about the old school where the children, the kids from the whole neighborhood, they came laughing and shouting in the schoolyard. You can imagine yourself, isn't it? You sit together in the classroom, you go home together at the end of the day, and you learn the same thing, and you help each other in the homework, and you talk about it, you share your feelings with each other. So, Margie was sitting alone, but the old kind of school, they had a uh, classroom where many children of the same age group sat together. All the teachers were people, so all the human beings. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add the fraction 1 by 2 and 1 by 4th, so it was teaching, but Margie was not paying attention to the study. And what she was thinking? She was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. So you can differentiate between the old kind of school and the school where Margie and Tommy studied. So I have already discussed it, and one more point you can add. So there was a special building and they had classmates, isn't it? But here they had to read in the home alone, and they were lonely. So there were no friends, there were no classmates. They studied alone. So I hope you have understood the chapter. You read the chapter once again. If you have any doubt, we can discuss it, and you can send the queries. We will discuss the extra questions and the question answer in the next video. Thank you.